Mustafa Barghouti. He's a former minister and the Secretary General at the Palestinian National Initiative, joining us from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Mustafa, always good to have you on this news hour. Do you see what Itamar Ben Gvir did today as a provocation by the new Israeli government?
Of course, it's an absolute provocation, not only to Palestinians, but to all Muslims and Arabs and anybody who cares about international law in this world. The man wants to change the status of Al-Aqsa Mosque. He wants to Judaize the Aqsa Mosque as well as Jerusalem. And he is a well-known fascist, a well-known racist. He was even taken to court in Israel before more than once for terrorist activities. And yet they have allowed him to be in charge of police and in charge of border police. This is an act of provocation that has no justification whatsoever, and it could provoke a real explosion. One more issue I want to say here, I'm sure Ben Gvir was also afraid of what would be the Palestinian reaction, and that's why this time he really sneaked in. They announced yesterday, he and the police and everybody announced that he's not going to come to the Aqsa Mosque. And he just sneaked in for 13 minutes, knowing that if Palestinians knew, there will be a very severe reaction in the mosque. That is why, as your correspondent said, it looked quiet, and unusually quiet, but because people didn't know that he was sneaking into Al-Aqsa Mosque. But that does not mean that this provocation will pass without consequences. The problem here is that it's not only about Al-Aqsa Mosque. This is an Israeli most radical, most extreme, most fascist government in the history of Israel and the region. And they declare clearly they want to annex the West Bank, they want to destroy any potential for peace, and that's why it's very dangerous.
And what do you think some of those consequences may be?
I believe Israel is pushing the situation towards a new intifada, and I think the Palestinians will react with an uprising to all these threats. You have to understand that this Israeli government is not only threatening to annex the West Bank, but also they are threatening to exercise ethnic cleansing against Palestinians in so many areas. I do believe that the continuation of these provocations under Netanyahu's government could lead also to a confrontation with Hamas in Gaza, could lead to a confrontation with other countries in the region. This Israeli government is simply a recipe for disaster and a recipe for an explosion.
Are these actions from men like Ben Gvir and others in this new Israeli government also allowed to happen because there isn't actually enough pressure from the Western world? We saw the EU and the US actually congratulate Benjamin Netanyahu last Thursday when he was sworn in as a prime minister for another term. There's just simply not enough of a strong reaction from Western countries for anything to actually happen.
It is really shameful that they congratulate Netanyahu for this fascist government, and it is shameful that they continue to deal with this government, which has racist, fascist, and neo-Nazis like Ben Gvir and Smotrich. These people belong to a movement that was classified in the past as terrorist movement, not only in Israel, but also in the United States. But this is the kind of double standard we see from many Western countries. In reality, this government, the Israeli government, will not be deterred except with two ways. One way is Palestinian resistance on the ground to the Israeli measures and to settlement, expansion, and to these racist behaviors. And second is to establish sanctions against this Israeli government. Unfortunately, we see here double standard. We see that in the case of Ukraine, the West has conducted more than 10,000 punitive acts against Russia, sanctions against Russia in less than 2 months, and not a single sanction against Israel, which chose the most racist and a fascist government.
Mustafa Barghouti speaking to us there from Ramallah. As always, appreciate your analysis. Thank you, sir.